Welcome to the Proactive Adventure Health and Wellness Podcast. Today I am here with Brian Sebok, also known as Weebok.
How's it going, Joe?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing great, man.
Thanks for coming out here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We met Brian through Mel. They met in Moab. Is that right?
Yep.
That was on a Jeff Zouch trip.
Yes, it was.
Jeff Zouch from Naked and Afraid. He runs some group hikes and events and all that. And
Yep.
you guys met out in Moab.
Yeah.
That's how I met you. And the reason that you're here primarily today is because you did something extraordinary. You walked across the country.
Yes, sir, I did.
15 states.
15 states.
It's amazing. I'm sure you have a chockload of stories to tell about your trip.
Oh, do I? I do. And I'm here to let it out.
I love it. Can I start from the beginning? Why?
At the time, I always wanted to do it when I was a little kid, is to walk across America. I did 9 miles walking from one friend's house to the other. And then I thought, like, what would it be like to walk across the continent? In my older years, I saw this dream fading and decided to do something about it. I was actually very highly depressed. I had no friends, and I wanted to shoot my life to the wind and see what would happen.
I think that's a dream of a lot of people, honestly, to get away and to do something like that.
It is.
But you actually did it.
Yes, it does. It does require sacrifice. And
I'm
it does take something from you.
I believe that.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did that 9-mile walk?
I was like 12.
So you're 12 years old. You extrapolate that. So this is fun. Maybe I could do it for how many miles is that across the country?
It was around 4,400 miles from New Jersey to Florida to California.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's almost twice the Appalachian Trail then.
Yep.
In that case.
Absolutely.
And so where did you start your walk?
7 Presidents Oceanfront Park, New Jersey. Trying to, what is the town? Long Branch.
Okay, when was this? When was this that you started?
2016 to 2017, August 23rd to July 24th, 11 months and 1 day.
All right, so tell me. So you're in New Jersey now, and you're getting prepared to walk across the country. What did you get together, and how did you feel right before you started going?
So I got all my gear together. It took me like a year to get all my gear together. I got the best gear. Like, I spent pretty much my whole life savings on the whole journey. So I got like the best tent, best sleeping bag, best pair of shoes. And I started getting everything together. People thought I was nuts right off the bat. Like, you always remember those faces like, are you kidding me? Yeah, right, kid. But then they saw me starting to get my gear up and they're like, okay, you're nuts. Then the day I left, go get him, kid. Go get the world. Yeah.
They saw you prepping. They knew you were ready.
They knew I was serious about it.
I mean, when you tell someone you're going to walk across the country, I mean, there has to be doubt in people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did it go when you left? So what time of day was it? Like, paint me a picture of you getting ready to say, I'm not going to see my home for however many months.
So, like, I left my parents' home and I was living there at the time. And my dad popped open a bottle of champagne and he gave a speech saying, hey, you're going on a journey. You're going on a journey. And he had tears in his eyes. They didn't think I was going to do it, but a part of me thinks that they thought I was going to turn around quick, but no. So I got my gear. My 2 friends dropped me off, Mo and Ed, shout out to them.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped me off at the La Quinta Hotel, watched Family Guy, passed out, woke up, and started walking 2 miles to the beach. Got to the beach, and I had my backpack. I didn't fit in. I didn't look like I fit in at the beach. Everybody's like, what's this guy doing with a backpack, hiking shoes, and all that?
Yeah.
Found a couple people. I was like, can you film me while I'm going in the ocean? So I filmed it. I jumped in the water, came out, and I started heading down south to Maryland at my sister's in Ocean City.
Okay.
This was like the trial run. This is like a couple hundred miles. How are you going to do? So going down, it was like a lot of hotels, campgrounds, restaurants, but during the whole journey, that changed. It got rougher, and sleeping on the bridges, side of the road, abandoned houses, under bushes.
How long did it? So now you're at the beach, okay?
Yeah.
Your first goal is to get down to Maryland.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It's like 256 miles.
So your first goal is to knock out 256 miles.
Yep.
So you started with the hotels and restaurants. You say, how long did it take before they deteriorated to you sleeping on the side of the road?
probably by the time I reached Florida.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead.
Yeah,
We're jumping
kinda
ahead.
jumping ahead. Yeah,
We're jumping ahead here. So from New Jersey now, you're heading to Delaware.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit of how that went. What did you experience between New Jersey and Delaware?
Well, I had to take the Cape May ferry to Lewis, Delaware, and I got there at night. It was closed, the ferry, so I waited all night by the bay. It was peaceful and quiet. Sun came up, got on the ferry, and I had that one song from Journey, "Wheels in the Sky," playing,
Okay.
and the beautiful sunrise. It brought me to tears. I was like, "Here I go. I'm out of my backyard."
Mm-hmm. You had been walking for how long at that point?
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks. So it
Yeah,
took you a couple
three-
weeks to get from Jersey
Yeah.
to
It's all about breaking your body into it. That's why I had a lot of hotels and campgrounds. But later on, 20 miles down, 20 miles down, 30 miles down.
At any point between New Jersey and Delaware, did you start to feel any doubt or anything along those lines?
And I was hyped. I
You
was
were
like
hyped. You were ready
I
to
was
go,
hyped.
so.
That's like, well, the thing is, your feet go through the worst pain, like doing like 10 miles a day, and like they felt shredded, like my ankles, cramps, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept pursuing at it.
Any characters or anything you met in New Jersey?
Just a lot of snowbirds. What snowbirds are, they're like people like who retire and live in campers at, like, I met a lot of good people. The people were giving me like 10 pounds of groceries to carry. And I'm like, listen, I can't carry all this. I appreciate it. I do. But I cannot carry this. I could take this and this. And people were like cheering me on as I was leaving.
How much weight were you packing in the beginning?
Oh my God. My first day, I overpacked. I had like cameras, wires, cords, like extra pair of clothing. Like like literally no joke, was like 60 pounds my first day. I got to my buddy's house who I worked with down the shore, and he's like, you got to lose some of this. And I was like, yeah, if I'm going to do this, I got to lose it.
60 pounds is about 3 times as more than most people would consider heavy to begin with. So
Yeah.
you were carrying a lot there.
Yep. Yep. I carry 60-pound green buckets of mud at work, so I guess I was kind of in shape for it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you arrive at the ferry.
Yeah.
Which ferry was it again, you said?
Cape May ferry.
Cape May ferry.
Yeah.
So this is you heading into Delaware?
Yeah.
So you get on the ferry, beautiful sunrise, you said?
Yeah. Beautiful sunrise. Yep.
You arrive in Delaware. What's your mindset and what are you thinking?
I got a hotel, and I wanted to shed more weight, so I called my sister. She took like the hour drive up. I gave her some of my stuff. Said, I'll see you in like a week or so, and headed down there.
So you give her things, she takes off back home.
Yeah.
And then basically you follow her steps
Yeah.
to her home.
Yeah. Well, she drove home. I
Yeah,
walked.
no, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the vibe in Delaware when you're starting that walk to go to your sister's house?
What divided New Jersey from Delaware?
What's your vibe? What's the vibe? when
Oh,
you
the
get up there?
vibe? Okay. Second level. Let's go. Like, becoming more smarter. Gonna rest at my sister's for like a week. Turned into 3 weeks because my niece's birthday. And so I got some rest in, and I coordinated my gear better. And I got like, I had like a 1970 backpack. So I bought like, not a Denali backpack,
Osprey?
Osprey backpack. Packed that up. My parents gave me a little GPS system, Garmin. Had that. I lost that in Georgia. I'll tell that story when I come. Yeah.
So heading to your sister's house, how would that go?
It was good. It was a couple day hike actually. It was like 2 to 3 days traveling down one south. And we're stopping at gas stations, people reading the sign on my backpack, because you have to fly a sign. It does paint a target on your back, but when you're hanging out in front of gas stations and all that, you don't want to look like you're a panhandler.
Of course.
And that was one of the rules that I started. I will never panhandle or ask for a dollar. Never did. I will work for my money.
Yeah.
So
So what'd the sign say on your bag?
like Weebok was here, walking New Jersey to California.
Okay.
I could send you the picture of my shirt. I still have the sign hung up in my living room right now. Like my little shrine I got, my little museum. So I'll send you that picture.
I'm sure that garnered you a lot of goodwill
Yeah.
support from people that were passing by.
Yeah, a lot of people signed it, and that was the thing. Like, you'd be sitting outside a gas station, and some guy comes up to you and be like, "Wow, really? You're doing this? Really, all the way from New Jersey?" Then you would have to do the same song and dance. Yeah, I walked here, there, here. That's just part of it.
Uh-huh.
And then there were people that didn't even read the sign. They just see me sitting out there, lock their car door, and then go in the thing. Like
It's to be expected.
beep. Yeah, it is. But I met a lot more good people than bad people on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So you're on your way to your sister's house. You know you have a little bit of time that you're going to spend at your sister's house, and this is after a couple 100 miles, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So you arrive at your sister's house. What's your mindset now? You've been walking for a while.
So
still amped, still hyped?
still amped, still hyped. I talked it over with my sister. I was going to go out straight west, but she's like, no, go see the Forest Gump bench in Savannah, Georgia, and then game plan it from there. The bench ain't there.
The bench isn't there.
It's not there. Chippewa Square, it's not there.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
That's like the perfect motivation for what you're doing, really,
Yeah.
you know, to see something like that. At least try to go see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't there. I was kind of disappointed.
You left Delaware to go to Maryland, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when did you decide to leave your sister's house?
Couple weeks after my niece's birthday, wanted to stay for that. Got her a bouncy castle and all that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But when I left my sister's, that's when doubt started coming, because no more family coming down.
No more rest stops,
No
right?
rest stops like that.
Now you had to figure it out.
Yeah, figured it out. And Maryland was beautiful, like the fields and like the patches of forest they have, the farmland, the smells. It was very nice. It was peaceful. Kept going. A lot of grassy fields in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Then next thing I know, I was in Virginia.
So Maryland was uneventful for the
Yeah,
most part?
pretty much, yeah. Besides my sisters, I stayed at a haunted hotel. Didn't see a ghost.
Did you feel a ghost?
Nah,
No?
nah.
It was fine.
It was an eerie. Oh wait, in Maryland, I did go to this one restaurant called the Harvest Moon Tavern in Snow Hill.
Okay.
They let me sleep on their bench for a couple hours. I went inside. They gave me a free meal, a couple beers, all that. Yeah. Shout out to Big Hoss. I don't know if he's still alive, because last I've checked on him, he was in bad shape, and I couldn't get a hold of him.
Was he the gentleman at the place?
He was the he was the bartender at the Harvest Moon Tavern. Yeah.
He gave you the okay to
Yeah.
sleep for a few hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So Maryland, pretty uneventful.
Yeah.
Crossing over into Virginia. Now, I know a little bit. I've been to Virginia a few times, so I kind of get the vibe in Virginia.
Yeah.
How'd you feel when you hit Virginia?
Well, okay, so going down Maryland, like I had to go over to get into Virginia. I had to go over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and cops will not let you walk. It's a 20-mile long tunnel.
Wow.
This is like the only ride I had to take. I had to take it. You can't walk over it. I would have gotten arrested. There's no escaping the cops.
Couldn't swim over.
Yeah, no. But as I was walking up like this like peninsula, the cops were just, seeing me for days. So I got to the place where they will actually give you a ride.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's like $20. They're like, don't worry about it, kid. Go get them, and we'll give you a free ride. Got there, dropped me right off at the road, Virginia Beach.
So now you're in Virginia.
Yeah, I'm in Virginia.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a good time in Virginia. Met good people in Virginia Beach. Stayed there for like a day or two. And then I remember heading back down towards Georgia. I kind of want to look at my phone, because that's when the memories hit. Do you mind?
Look at your phone.
It's in my jacket. You mind if...
He's going to go grab his phone.
That's cool, because there's like a
buzzing.
Coming from me? From him? Okay. Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
You dropped off at Virginia Beach.
Yep.
Tell me about your experience right now.
A lot of suburban areas and ocean, like vacation spots, but it was dying down. It was getting later in the year.
The quiet towns you're passing through.
Yeah, and that's when I started sleeping on the side of the road here and there. And let me tell you, sleeping on the side of the road at the beginning was terrifying.
Paranoid?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
Like going out in the bush and starting little fires, not a big fire, just a little fire, keep building it up. You had to go through some swamps and stuff, all mucked up, man.
Because this is on the side of the road.
Yeah.
This isn't like a campsite. This is you just finding a place that you could lay.
Yep. And the way to do that, of how to stealth camp, first you sit on the side of the road, wait for the cars to die down, go in the woods for a little bit, just a little bit in the woods, wait an hour, go in a little bit deeper. Don't set up your camp right away, because if you disturb somebody on their property, they're going to be at you within the first hour. I did get caught once. That was in North Carolina.
We'll get there.
Yeah. But depending on where you are, if the car lights could see you, or you could see the car lights, they could see you.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's probably based on the car lights coming
Yeah.
off the road, right?
Yep.
Because that would make you not only not secure, but probably so much more paranoid.
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
the lights pass over your head
Like-
constantly. Yeah.
And then you just like try to sleep, you hear a noise, like I get my machete out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, because you don't know what's out there.
yeah, no, you don't.
You really don't, especially passing through each state. You're not sure what the biodiversity of the animals and everything is down there.
Oh, yeah, no, like down the south, there was like, I did see a panther. I got to save that one. Okay, so Virginia, it was quiet farmland, nice people, some like barbecue places. I'm telling you, the journey really starts like going down south. So
let me ask you this: when you started sleeping on the side of the road,
Yeah.
did the act of doing that put any doubt in your mind? The first night you had to just kind of tuck yourself away.
not really, like didn't put doubt in my mind. Actually, like I felt better when I woke up in the morning. I'm like, okay, I could do this.
You could do this,
I
okay.
could do this. You always get up early, like before like the sun comes up. It's not like you could sleep in.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you march like another 20 miles. What's the day gonna bring? Put your headphones in and just keep going, cruising. Had a walking stick. It was a metal pipe from work. It
Okay.
was in my backyard, and right before I left, my buddy had his like, "You need a walking stick." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I'm probably gonna throw this away." Nope, that thing's to the
Still
end.
have it, right?
Still have it.
I would imagine you do.
Oh, I wore it down so much, and I had to get it rebuilt in Texas. That's so I get to North Carolina,
Yep, you get to North Carolina.
and this is when I first got caught. I remember walking and I just saw like a trail, but it wasn't a trail. It was just like where cars drive off. It's like a dirt road.
Yep.
I went on. There was a river right next to me, and
So you probably thought, oh, this is perfect.
yeah, perfect. I set up a little fire, set up my tent, and I'm just sitting there. I'm cooking beans. So I'm eating some beans, and all of a sudden I see quad lights coming up.
Ooh.
I was like,
Oh, that's worse than car light.
yeah. I was like, oh my God. This young kid, like a kid like the same age as me, a little bit older, comes in. He has a shotgun.
Oof.
He has a shot. I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna die? He's like, what are you doing on my land? And I explained the story. I walked from Jersey. He's like, that's awesome. Here, I'll be right back. He got me a couple beers. He's like, just clean up, just don't leave a fire, and you'll be good.
You got lucky.
I got really lucky.
You got really lucky.
And I learned from my mistakes. Don't just go out in the middle of nowhere. It depends on where you're at. North Carolina was like more sleeping on the side of the road, meeting farmers, and here's food, and people were kind. They would just like pull over. Southern hospitality starting like, hey, here's $20. I'm like, I can't ask for it. I was like, okay, thank you so much.
They're not asking. They're just giving.
Yeah. Then I got to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach.
That sounds beautiful.
For Thanksgiving.
How many miles are you in now?
500 round maybe. Like it's hard. I never really kept track of the miles. I just marked places I slept. That was
Fair
really,
enough. So you
like,
just knew you were
Yeah.
heading in the right direction.
yeah. So South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. I actually like took it easy. It's Thanksgiving, got a nice hotel for Thanksgiving, like a Marriott, like something really nice, hot tub, buffet, all that. But I decided to stay a couple other hotels in Myrtle Beach, just like to enjoy it, take it in, because I've never been to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Then, hold on.
So you kind of felt like you're on vacation at that point. Right?
Yeah, at that point, saw the beach. Was where's Myrtle Beach? It's right there. Sorry, man.
Don't be.
Oh, in North Carolina, Greenville. Great college
Just
town.
North Carolina?
This is North Carolina. Backtracking.
Backtrack a little bit.
So okay, so I went to Greenville after Aiden. Well, actually, before that, dude. Now the story.
Yeah, it's starting to come out. Yeah,
They
yeah.
are.
Please.
So after Aiden, I went to Wallace, North Carolina. I wound up meeting the guy who created the original Slipknot masks.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
Jason.
that's an interesting person
Yeah.
to meet.
Well, I went to a hotel and they denied me service because I'm a guy with a backpack. That happens. Like they think you're a bum.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they pointed me to this campground, Lake Lemon campground, and I've met a first rubber tramper. A rubber tramper is someone who's a drifter, but they live in their car, rubber wheels. They're a tramper, rubber tramper. Her name was Bambi. That was her road name. And she introduced me to Jason, who made the Slipknot mask. Got to hang out with them for a couple days. There was Kip. She owned this secondhand store where they donate a lot of stuff to charity. Jason lived upstairs with his artwork. He does tattoos. He gave me a tattoo on my leg. It's a boot print with the word Weebok on it.
Nice.
So I had that. Then I got to Greenville, and that was around. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, because I'm going back. Greenville was around Halloween. So I remember my brother's friends were like people he knew were at Sup Dogs, and it's a college bar down there.
Okay.
So like I met them, but I didn't know them. But it was kind of cool seeing familiar faces. Like, yo, this guy walked all the way here so far. Crowds coming around.
Did you go there to meet them? You knew they were there?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. It was mentioned at the last minute.
That's what I mean. You got a heads up that they were there, so you went there to see them.
Yeah, got a hotel room, chilled out. Then Wilmington, North Carolina, before South Carolina. I already jumped this. But I met this one kid, treated me well, showed me a place to sleep in this like garden by this bridge.
Uh-huh.
Shows me around the town. It's a nice town. He showed me where they filmed places. They filmed Eastbound and Down.
Okay.
Like places there. Good people. There was this one kid, all right? So I stole a kid's thunder once. Got people surrounded this kid with a bike. And this guy came from Pennsylvania, riding his bike across the country.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I show up with my backpack. I'm walking it. Cubby. It was Cuba. It was Cuba.
The guy on the bike?
Yeah, Cuba. But I stole his thunder. Didn't mean to. But hey, we had a beer and we split ways.
When you say you stole his thunder.
Well, because he had a whole crowd around him.
And did they all just shift over to you and you showed up?
Yes.
How did that happen? You just come walking out. You observe this crowd surrounding this guy. And
Yeah. Just like that.
What does one person say? Oh, this guy's walking. And everybody just rushes over to you?
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
Yeah. The guy who showed me the place to sleep in that garden by the bridge, he was the one, he was like, it was like every city I went in, I had like a tour guide.
Uh-huh.
Every city, like someone showed me around.
So once you explain what you're doing, somebody would just kind of like take ownership of you in the state and or the city and just walk you through?
Yeah. Freaking just walk me through. And I saw some dead towns, like dead cities, or just like not even busy. Like,
I'm sure places that not many people would have to go through.
Yeah. I'll take a sip of my water.
Do it.
Doing good so far, right?
I think so.
All right.
Well, if you're going to take a sip, I'm going to take a sip of my seltzer then.
Oh, and then I went to Kingston, North Carolina.
Okay.
Be careful. Well, it was like there was a bad storm came by and like knocked out all the hotel rooms.
Okay.
But as I was walking through Kingston, not a soul. Not a soul. It was miraculous. If you believe in God, no trouble. So there was a free campground by this river. So that's where I pitched my tent that night.
Still in Kingston?
Still in Kingston.
Okay.
And I couldn't sleep, and I'm just, hearing loud cars and, people like yelling. I'm like, I can't fall asleep, man. So I stayed up, and then next morning headed down. Then it was Wilmington. I'm like, Wilmington, the Myrtle Beach. Then I got to Charleston after Myrtle Beach. Charleston, Pawleys Island.
So let's just to keep it all clear.
Yeah.
We just finished up North Carolina.
Yeah.
We're jumping back to where you around Thanksgiving you were in Myrtle Beach, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're in South Carolina. You enjoyed your little vacation Thanksgiving sort of fancy hotels over in Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
I'll call them fancy, but you know what I mean. So then, from Myrtle Beach, where do you go?
Myrtle Beach, I went all the way down to Charleston.
All right.
Pawleys Island, like there was a lot of campgrounds near like the bays and everything. And they were nice campgrounds. People treated me well. I actually got some free campgrounds going down that way.
Is that right?
Yeah, like the ranger saw me walking towards it like late at night.
And invited you to come in?
Yeah, he's like, literally, come on in, make tent, make your tent, make your camp, but you got to be out in the morning.
Uh-huh.
We're renting these sites out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
No problem. Got head down and made it to Charleston, and that was where I had my first hostel. Hostels are cool, man.
I've never stayed in a hostel.
They are cool. They're cheap. Yeah, you got to bunk with people, but you make friends. That was my first hostel. I made friends. We explored Charleston. I went to some nightclubs. and met some cool people. I remember going over that big bridge before Charleston. It's a long bridge. I forget what it's called. I can find the name of it.
Are you searching it right now?
Yeah, I just gotta look. I just gotta look.
I'm gonna do some editing work on this one.
Oh, dude, I know. I told you, man. This is Arthur Ravel.
The Arthur Ravel Bridge.
Arthur Ravel Jr. Bridge.
I'll have to get a picture of that up. You said you remember walking across it?
Yeah, it was a long one.
Is it a high bridge?
Yeah, it was
Tall?
pretty high. Yeah, the highest one was like right before Mobile. That was the highest bridge I've ever walked across. The most dangerous bridge, I'll tell you about that one when I get to Louisiana.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So Charleston was like, good, and met good hostel buddies, went out, had some drinks, waking up. People are in the kitchen, and you make food. And next thing I know, I'm out of Charleston, and man, I remembering all this stuff. Just looking at the places I slept. Yeah, like same old, like, farmland, but I was near like the ocean. So it was like, it started getting tropical. Started seeing Spanish moss for the first time, and I was like, what is this stuff?
Uh-huh.
Supposedly you're not like it's good insulator, but they carry chiggers. So you gotta be very careful with.
Did you experience any of that?
No, I didn't get any
Thank
chiggers.
God.
I've at least turned my ankle at least 3 times, and I had to wrap it up.
By this point?
Yeah.
In South Carolina, you had already screwed your ankle.
Oh yeah. Just out of nowhere on the road, ankle turns, you fall, yell, people are beeping at you.
What would you attribute that to? You think that was because you were fatigued from how much you've been walking?
That, and what I was realizing, the roads go like this. There's a lot of gullies.
Yeah.
So if you're walking like constantly like this, your heels are always like constantly bent.
Yeah.
So you would have to choose going on the top of the road, the side, or the bottom.
Or just on the side of the road, yeah.
So, and just out of nowhere, ankle just turned, and then you got to wrap it up and bandage it. And out of nowhere, like that's when my feet started not to feel pain. Like every time I changed it into a new boot, a new Vask, feet would hurt again. Cut up. Like the blisters I had up on my feet, like nasty.
When did they start getting beat up? How early into the trip did you start to really feel your feet going?
Oh, in the beginning.
In the beginning.
The beginning, doing 10 miles here, 10 miles there, 15. Your feet goes, it's like walking with broken feet on glass. It's horrible. You just got to push through the pain, air out your feet, change your socks. But then, like, I once wore the same pair of socks for like 3 weeks. Crusty. I remember getting brand new socks on. I was like, oh my God, this feels so good.
Well, you can't really do laundry too often.
No, I did it a couple times, but then I was like, you know what? This is more clothing on my back, more weight.
Yeah.
Shredded. I only need one pair of clothing. And I've worn shirts for months on end. Same shirt. I got 2 hoodies. 2 hoodies are better than 1 jacket. You can alternate your body heat. In Georgia, did we get to Georgia yet?
No, but you know what? Take a moment before we get into Georgia. Jarod, can we do a cut on everything? And then I want to just like start fresh, a new set. What I want you to do. So you're in Georgia now.
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Savannah, Georgia. I made it to Georgia where supposedly the Forest Gump bend, they removed it. People were trying to steal it. People were marking it up and like tagging it. So they put it in like some museum. I met my sister's friend who moved down to Savannah. And let me tell you, Savannah is such a beautiful city. The architecture, the Spanish moss, the trees overhanging the roads. And it's actually one of the hauntedest city. And walking in broad day, you just feel cold spots just hit you.
So it's one of the most haunted cities.
Yeah. 100,000 bodies are binged underneath it from the Black Plague. That whole city's built on bodies. So that's why it's so haunted, in my opinion. Binged watched the first season of Stranger Things on a couch, got some rest, with a friend. It's a good time. And then leaving Savannah, I left Savannah. And I remember experiencing one of the most coldest night was 27 degrees in a tent in Savannah, outside Savannah, Georgia.
I guess you wouldn't have expected that either. Savannah, Georgia to be like coldest.
It was freezing. Had a fire. I was off on the side of the road like a quarter mile. but that was like the most coldest. I just beat the winter. That's why I went down south.
Yeah, when were you there?
It was after Thanksgiving. It was like December. I spent Christmas and New Year's in Georgia. Christmas, I just got a hotel and I just watched the Christmas Story on the cheap TV.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was in Hinesville, Georgia, and I get to my hotel room and they're in the parking lot. It's all taped off in a parking spot. There's this nightclub right across the way, like not even across the street, right next to it.
You're talking police tape.
What?
It's taped off?
Yeah, police tape. Yeah. The next hotel room, the window is shot out.
Okay.
2 days before I got there, the bouncer got shot and killed in that parking lot. I met the guy staying next to me. He was kind of living there. He was a Iraq veteran, and he's like, "Let's go to this nightclub." I was like, "All right, cool." It was on Christmas. It was on Christmas at a nightclub. No one had the Christmas spirit in this town. It was kind of like, I was wearing my shirt. Weebok was here. My sign. It was a shirt, but made a sign. And next day, I'm leaving. And all of a sudden, I get to Albany, Georgia. Well, this is a couple days later, actually. I got to Albany, Georgia, and outside a liquor store, just taking a break, and I got this reporter. Takes down my story. But I met this young lady. I guess she was like the gang boss mom. I stay next to her, and I tell her my story. She's like, "That is wild." And then all of a sudden, I get all these like gangster-looking people coming around, and one guy's like, "Let me see his feet." Grabs my foot. She pulls out a freaking gun. It's like, "No one touches fucking Weebok at all. You all back the fuck up right now." And I was like,
What?
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but yeah, that was wild. And my hotel door didn't shut all the way.
Motel or hotel?
Motel.
Okay.
Motel. I was like, I got to get up early and leave. As I'm leaving, I'm leaving the bad part of Albany, Georgia, but I'm going into the historic area, and there's my face on the newspaper all over the place.
What's the headline?
I actually a man walking across the country. That was Christmas. New Year's I spent in Blakely, Georgia. I'm pretty sure. What the crazy thing is about down south when New Year's, it's not they watch the ball drop.
What do?
They just open fire guns. I'm out. I go outside. I just hear bang, 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 bang from all distances, and then you would just hear like that huge explosion and be like, "Yeah, someone just died."
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I loved. I saw Star Wars the next day. The movie theater smelled like hay for some reason. I guess like a lot of farmers go to that movie. Not to bash them or anything, but yeah. After that, a lot of people like I used to smoke a lot of weed, and that's when I started getting free weed, and I didn't want to get arrested, so I kept the weed underneath in my shoe, underneath. I've walked hundreds of miles on weed, and it turns nothing into like black hockey puck hash, and gooey, and it was the best. See, I never carried like a pipe or anything to smoke because it's paraphernalia. I always use a tin can. If I didn't have one, I'd find one on the side of the road, disinfect it with a lighter, pop a couple holes in, go on the side of the road, smoke a little something, come out, crush the can, put the weed back in the shoe, put tunes on, jam out, got another 5 miles. What's today gonna bring, Yeah, but I was in the newspaper. I was in Tifton. I did some work in Tifton at a campground, built a shed.
Did you go there looking for work?
No, I just stopped at like a campground, and guy's like, "Hey, I'll give you a free camp spot. I'll give you some money. You want to earn some money?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Okay." So stayed there. Then, after coming out of Albany, because I knew my face was in the paper and I knew I'd be a target, so I wound up finding train tracks. I walked 20 miles on train tracks. Let me tell you something, walking on loose rock like that for 20 miles will mess your ankles up, turn them into jelly.
Without a doubt.
I think I was like 2 nights on the train tracks. And I remember one night, I had my food bag, and I'm eating, and something told me, take your food bag, place it out of line of sight of your tent, because they had wild boar, and they could get nasty.
Wild boar? I would have expected that to be the biggest problem.
Yep, so they could do some damage. In the day, they're scared to death of you, but at night, they came surrounding my tent, and I'm hearing the snorts outside. There was like maybe 10 of them, 20 of them. I wasn't sure.
Really?
And I can't see outside my tent. So I'm on my knees with my machete. I'm like, do not try to come into my tent right now. Please do not. Slowly, they wandered off.
Have you ever read Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, yeah.
That reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's just, you're in
The
that
monster in
moment.
that book is actually a wild boar.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like, it was a wild boar. Wow,
Yeah.
I gotta reread that book. I read that in like elementary school about kids on an island that fight to the death or something. That's Battle Royale. I was thinking that's another book. It's called Battle Royale.
So you basically, the predator out there is the wild boar.
Yeah, they get nasty, and they have, if you have food, they're coming at it. They're coming after it.
Yep.
It was not those railroad tracks, but yeah, no, actually they were those railroad tracks. Pecan farm. These people working on a pecan farm where the tracks go by, got to hang out with them for a couple hours.
Interesting.
Hooked it up. Like, they're telling me that it was a plantation, so it was beautiful. They wanted to know if I wanted to work for a couple days, but like I said, listen, I gotta keep going. Like, I'm holding off too much in one area.
Yeah.
But they were cool. I forget their names, but shout out to them.
The pecan farmers from Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like after that, I got to like Dothan, Alabama, which I was going to just continue going west from there. But I met this awesome lady, forgot her name. Like, I forget a lot of names, a lot of people, places. Like, so I met this lady. She took me out to breakfast in Dothan, Alabama. She's like, listen, don't go west. It's just straight farm. You'll be bored. Go to Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
It was only like a 4-day walk. That was a quick 4 days. Like, they had like tornadoes and stuff go by there, and some of the gas stations weren't working, and some things were messed up.
Did you experience bad weather then?
Oh yeah, rain.
While you were going through there?
Yeah. What town was that called? I'm trying to think. But the possum, Wasua, going down to Wasua. I don't know if it was Florida or Alabama above it. Wasua, Alabama. Pretty sure it's possum capital of the world. I remember I made the mistake of not putting my rain gear on. I was like, screw it, it's just rain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was soaking wet. Went to
Poured.
this pizzeria in Wasua, and I was shivering. I was soaking wet. Thank God I had like one extra pair of clothing. But then I had to carry that wet clothing to a dry cleaner's like another 10 miles down the road.
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy, man. It was bad. So I got to Panama City, Florida, and like around Destin. Slept on the beach, man. Like, a lot of hotels, Destin, like, they're high up areas. They don't want like drifters or anything like that. I remember I was going to like a liquor store just to get a beer, and a guy's like, "No, you're not shopping in here." I'm like, "Really?" Destin, yeah.
Why was that? Now, were you?
Because they had a backpack.
That's simple, right?
They have gas lighted like street lights there, like very beautiful. Destin's very beautiful. Then I met this guy. I forget his name. My God, I forgot all these guys' name. But I did some decal working on trucks with him. He took me in for
Florida?
2 days. Yeah, showed me around like Panama City, Florida, and all that. Good dude. I forget his name. I think it's Mike. But
How
really
many little jobs did you take along the way in this whole
quite a
journey?
couple.
Sounds like it.
I raked gravel in Georgia for like $20 at old people's house. I didn't want to take the money. I felt bad, but they made sure I took that money.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'm in Florida, work detailed. I slept on the beach quite a couple times in Florida, and it got cold like on the beach, and just I slept under a deck, like stair deck, because it was on the hill. The house is on the hill, so you had these stairs, and you could get arrested for sleeping on the beach. So I had to go stealth camping, and
Under somebody's stairs?
yeah, just hanging out there.
Wild,
man. But just seeing like the ocean air and the breeze, even though it was cold, but seeing all the stars at night, let me go to sleep pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was like when it rained and I'd be in my tent and just hearing the raindrops on the tent, that put me to sleep. That was a really relaxing feeling. After like cranking out like 20 miles,
Yeah, for sure.
you find a great spot on the side of the road, no one's bothering you, and you just go to sleep. You have your little snacks, your little weed and shit,
So you've gone now from New Jersey to Florida.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing in itself, just to do that.
Yeah.
How do you feel at this point? Are you feeling like you're
I got it.
halfway almost, even though the mileage might not be that
Quarter
way?
way, but I was like, I got this. This is now like a way of life to me. Christmas, Georgia was in Christmas. Florida, right before April, right before April.
So more than half a year.
Yeah. Well, no, it took me like 6 months to get down to Florida, but then it took me like 5 months to cross the rest of the way
Yeah.
because I guess my body was just so
Used to it.
so used to it. I was cranking out like 25 miles a day.
So from New Jersey to Florida, are those all those states? Like the first time you were in those states was on this walk.
I took a car ride to Georgia when I was younger, and that was it. But yeah,
That's it. So this is really all
Yeah.
brand new experiences for you the whole way down.
yeah,
And now, is that the same situation for heading to California?
yeah.
Those are all new.
New
Okay.
states.
Just wanted to just to clarify, like, your perspective in these places
Yeah.
when you do arrive.
Uh,
Anyway, carry on.
So from Florida, we go back into Alabama. And what I love about Alabama at their borders, there's an orange car with the words "Sweet Home Alabama," and it's just I always played that song on my Snapchat, "Sweet Home Alabama."
Is that
I
right at the
got
state line?
that.
State line?
Yeah, at the state line.
I got to mention Jarod. I mean, we're sitting here with Jarod. The guy's from Alabama. And so every time I hear you say Alabama, it's like I want to look over at Jarod and get like your opinion on just what do you think about this place? But I know the mic's not set up.
Alabama's a big place. Yeah, I can dig it.
Alabama.
I'm like Alabama. This guy's called Alabama. Anyway,
Most kindest people are down south. The Bible Belt, Southern hospitality is a real thing. Like the Southern hospitality. Here's a story about Southern hospitality. It was a night of this is in North Carolina. I had nowhere to stealth camp, so I see a car pull up in their driveway, and I'm like, maybe I could ask to pitch my tent in their front yard. They go inside, and right before I knock on the door, they open the door. Come on in. They grab me in, and one guy's making a bed. One guy's cooking food. The guy cracks a beer. All right, kid, what are you doing? I'm explaining, and I'm just sitting next to them, and they hooked it up with breakfast the next morning and $40 for the road.
really?
Don and Dan, I think. Shout out to them. Like, I hope they're doing well.
That is some true Southern hospitality.
People would literally take their shirts off their back for you. Yeah. So Alabama.
You're back in Alabama.
Yeah,
now,
back
from
in
Florida.
Alabama, on the outskirts of Mobile. And at the time, there was a serial killer on the loose. He just murdered like a whole family, and he was like, it was like in a 10-mile radius.
Haha.
I got stopped by so many cops that day.
Oh man.
You get stopped a lot by cops.
Did
but-
you fit the description of the killer?
No, not really. But they saw a guy with a backpack.
Exactly, I'm just gonna
they gotta ask you. I think I might have met the guy, the killer, but not like face to face, shake his hand. Like I was just driving, I was walking, and this guy just drives and right in front of me and drops a survival blanket, like one of those like clothy, quilty, and he just goes. And I was like, that'd be funny if that was the killer. But
I
they
guess-
found him in Georgia like a couple days later. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I guess you'll never know
You'll
if that
never
emergency
know.
blanket was from the serial killer.
usually everybody just like stops and says hi. That guy
Mhm.
just maybe said like, maybe this guy's down on his luck. Here's a survival blanket.
You never know what people's intentions are, you know?
Nope, you don't. So yeah, then we got to Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, Atlantic City on the Gulf. I was at night one time, and I was like, I had $5 in my pocket. I was like, I'm gonna go play roulette. I win the first one, so I got $10.
Okay.
Start filming. One of the big guys comes up to me. You can't film in here. It's like, all right. Lost the $10. Back on the road. But I had to try my luck. You know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Then my last night in Mississippi was actually like the smallest state to cross. My last night I stayed behind this gas station, and it was like a bunch of locals, cool people, shot the wind. And that's the greatest thing. Like I was sleeping behind gas stations and all that. Like you get permission from the person. You just don't set up.
Yeah.
Like, you hang out there for a while, get to know them, let them know your story, and then you go, hey, most of the time, 99% of the time, they're like, yeah, you could pitch a tent back there. Just don't be a nuisance. Don't panhandle. I was like, I don't panhandle.
Yep.
And that's what my nights were starting to look like. Now on the side of the road, now at gas stations, less hotels here and there.
Yep.
There'd be nights I'd just be laying there and be like, oh my God, I remember being behind that gas station, and I remember the feeling, the smells, and No one came and bothered me. Not
It's amazing.
yet.
It's amazing. Okay, not yet. You
Not
say.
yet.
Not yet. You say.
But so Mississippi. Now I get to Louisiana. I met this
Louisiana.
awesome guy, Joe from Slidell, Louisiana, and they filmed a lot of CSI like episodes, and I got to stay there for a couple nights. Great dude. Got to shoot guns. He has like this river right by him. He throws like a jug of water in there, and we're just unleashing on guns.
How'd you meet this guy?
I actually was at his gas station. He owned the land. He's like, listen, I own the land right across. You can make your tent there. Hung out there for 2 days. The third day, he's like, you come stay at my house. And very nice guy. I gave him a pair of my boots. Joe, you got to send me those boots to send home.
You gotta get him the boots.
Joe, gotta get my boots, man.
Gotta get him the boots.
God bless you and your family, Joe, man. You're a great dude. So they were telling me, like, listen, if you're going to New Orleans, you're going to go through the Ninth Ward. So I was debating. I was like, that was the part in the road because you got Lake Pontchartrain right there. Should I go north? And I headed north, and then I was like, at the time of Mardi Gras, this one town was having Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
I mean, all these people were like, no, go to New Orleans. I went back down. Now I got scared. I was like, now I'll go back up. And then I was like, no, fuck that. I'm taking my chances. So right before I got to the Ninth Ward, I was like going through like these like fish villages. It's like just a one-way place where the houses are raised up on stilts. And I met this boat hippie, Rain. It was at a gas station. There was a river and had all these boats. And this guy, really cool dude. He had kayaks. We kayaked near this old Spanish fort. Got to kayak all around it. Like, showed me a good time. I stayed in his boat for a night. Kind of freaked me out, but he was a nice guy. Like his very nice guy, but his attitude, his like demeanor was just really cool, calm, and quiet.
Okay.
Really nice guy.
What kind of boat did he have?
Like a sailboat.
So there was like an under.
Yeah, had all that. Very nice guy. Shout out to you, Rain. Then it's time to. Right before I met another fisherman, I got to stay in a boathouse for a night, and out of nowhere, my feet were hurting because Joe from Slide Out gave me his army boots. He gave me black standard army boots. My feet were killing me breaking in those.
I'm sure.
So I only did like 6 miles that day.
They were heavy?
They're
Heavy boots?
Yeah. And I met these two fishermen, and they were cool as hell. They took me on a boat ride in the Gulf and went fishing, had some beers, hit up a bar. Then I had to go do the Ninth Ward. Not in like the most worst part of the Ninth Ward, but above it, but it was still pretty bad. I made sure, because I had my phone clipped right here.
Yeah.
And all the electronics, whatever electronic, I hid that away, dirtied up myself a little bit, and I just kept my head down, and I just kept walking. And all of a sudden, I just started hearing the trumpets and the drums and Mardi Gras. Walked right into it. People standing on ladders, they call them dirty kids. They're train hoppers. They're really like they're the transient kids. Like, people come from broken homes and they just travel. They do jugging and busking, and they stick together. I met a lot of cool. They call them dirty kids in Mardi Gras. My cousin got me my second hostel for a couple days in New Orleans. I just enjoyed Mardi Gras. Free for all out party. You could do anything you want. Cops only look for 2 things: stabbings and shootings. Anything else goes.
Uh-huh.
I had no pissing on the street.
No pissing on the street. Yeah.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
So enjoyed that hostel, made some buddies, got drunk. This kid Jake, I got really trashed, and he made sure I got home safe. He dressed like this jester, and he was getting the chicks left and right. And my tour guide was this guy Brian. He showed me the oldest brothel in New Orleans with a certificate in glass. Good time, went on balconies. Then he lost his bike. He chained his bike up, and we're going through the French Quarter, and we can't find his bike. He's jumping over cars and shit because he's like, hey, this is a big party. Look what I could do. Jumps over this car, busts his ass. But really good. Brian, shout out to you, man.
So you had a really good time in Mardi Gras.
Oh, yeah. My last day there, right? So I was not at the hostel, but I was like, I want to enjoy. Well, it was right before Fat Tuesday. I was not there for Fat Tuesday. I regret that.
What's Fat Tuesday?
That's like the day. Mardi Gras goes like for like 3 weeks, and it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, there's partying.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's crazy how they clean the streets. Like the streets are all littered, and then they have like a crew of people with brooms, and they just push it off, and it's a brand new street.
Uh-huh.
Oh man. So my last night there, I got hammered. I was tipsy, and I went by the Mississippi River, and I met 3 train hoppers, Skylar, Bug, and I forgot the other guy's name. I forget a lot of people's names. I'm sorry.
It's fine. So do I.
But I'm like, where you guys staying tonight? They're like, oh, we're going to the abandoned theater. This place got destroyed by Hurricane Katrina in '05, right? Yeah. That's where the cops send like the train hoppers and like the dirty kids so they're not sleeping on the streets. I don't like that. It was like either they sleep at their Frenchman Street or in this thing. And this place had actually like electrical lights running through it, like on a construction site. So I go with them and go there. We barricade ourselves in this office, and it's papers. It's like trash, but we're chilling there, smoking, and barricade ourselves in there. Throughout the night, we're hearing screaming, people trying to get in. Like, get the fuck, find your own fucking room, man. Yeah, it was like
This is still Mardi Gras?
it's still my last night of Mardi Gras. So like, but they're like, hey, come check this out. So we go to the center stage area. It's like abandoned, pitch black.
Uh-huh.
There were pallets of MREs and water bottles from Hurricane Katrina still sitting there. Mind you, that Hurricane Katrina was in '05. This is 2017.
12 years.
Yeah, it's still sitting there. I asked, like, hey, can I grab some of that? They're like, no, it's tainted. Yeah, and I didn't want a chance getting sick.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember going to bed, waking up the next morning, and I had to step over all these, like, bums, dirty kids, and hobos, train hoppers, leaving this building. Like, you step on a piece of glass. One guy woke up and he's just looking at me. I'm like, shh, just go back to sleep, man. Had to, like, remove this big freaking, like, plywood because the window was busted. I had to move this big plywood to hop out. Got out. I started heading up towards Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that before or after where I met Isabel? So I'm walking. It's another day. A couple days go by. I slept on the side of the road by this driving range, and I remember like low palms, but I had to like really, it was like bushwhacking through these reeds and stuff. And I remember pitching my tent, and all of a sudden I hear like a raptor, like from Jurassic Park, coming back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I shine my light. This big armadillo was just coming right at me. I shine the light, it just went off. Armadillos are funny. They're like armored rabbits. They hop like rabbits too.
Do they really?
Yeah, they don't really like one foot out in front of the other. They actually like hop, which is amazing. I've never seen my first armadillo. I'm like, that is crazy, man. So I met Isabel. She took me in at Southern Hospitality. She's like the only friend I actually keep in touch with since after the journey.
How'd you meet her?
Well, I went to a truck stop. This is actually, let me tell about the P. Huey Long Bridge first, because this is after. So in Baton Rouge, and I hear about the P. Huey Long Bridge. This bridge is very dangerous. There's no shoulder over it. It's a mile long. It's like 100-something feet in the air. I had to cross it. Or I'd go up 80 miles north to the next one, and I didn't even know if I was going to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
So I slept by in between 2 tractor trailers. They were abandoned. They weren't like active. So woke up at 3 a.m, heading to this bridge, and I was like, oh my God. First time I really ran on the journey. I'm running over this bridge with no shoulder, and I'm flashing cars over with my flashlight. Beep, beep, fucking jerk off. Here I am running over this fucking bridge at 3 a.m, because that's like the time where, like not less cars are on the road. When I got over that bridge, man, my heart was coming out of my throat, man. I was like, that was the most scariest time.
I believe it.
Almost died.
I believe it.
So then I met Isabel.
You made the choice on going over the bridge, though, right? Because at night visibility is much lower.
Yeah.
During the day, there's more cars.
Yeah.
So I guess you had less chances to die at 3 a.m.
So I met Isabel, and she had a boyfriend, and they took me to Walmart, got me fresh clothes, a carton of cigarettes, because I smoked at the time. I vape now, quit cigarettes almost 2 years now. Very cool people. Their friends were awesome. Like, hey, have you ever had Louisiana crawfish? I'm like, no. Like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. Now they bring over this bushel of like gumbo crawfish. So good. I was just sucking the heads off, eating the tail, and like, there's nothing like Louisiana crawfish. Crazy thing about Louisiana is that their sewer systems are like clean. There's like fish in their sewers.
Is that right?
I swear to God, I've seen fish in the sewers, and I would see these hive-looking things. They actually have crawfish right on the side of the road. Seeing crawfish fields is pretty cool. It's this guy with a floating basket, and they come with the pots. Dump them, bait them, dump them, bait them. But Louisiana was like the most kindest state I have ever been through. Most kindest. I got taken in the most with Louisiana and all that. Then going through Baton Rouge, I was reaching Texas, the biggest fucking state I have ever walked across. 2 months.
2 months.
2 months
in Texas.
Yeah, I remember my first night in Texas. I camped on this like beach by this big river. I had a fire, had a tent, had some beers, full moon out. Hearing huge fish jump in this river, and it's like pitch black. You just hear whoosh, whoosh. So it took me 2 months to get through Texas. The towns I'm going to mention, they might not be in order because Texas is such a big freaking state. Jasper, Lufkin, Crockett, Centerville, Waco, Abilene, Amarillo, Lubbock, then Amarillo. But actually, I stumbled upon a hippie gathering.
Where was that?
Texas, like my second.
No, what city?
It was in like the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
It was a rainbow gathering. Is all these hippies. So I'm walking. It's like my third day in Texas, and there's this beautiful sunset. Shout out to Squirrel Mark. Shout out to you. I'm about to tell the story. So also I'm walking, and this kid just pulls over. Big heavy dude, not like heavy, but burly, red hair, red beard, and he just has his arms out, and he's like, "Let's go to the gathering, brother." I was like, "All right, let me mark my spot." See, I want to mention this. Like, I always marked my spot before I went out and did opportunity. They always dropped me off at the same spot. I always marked it. Because some people watch my Facebook thing. They say, "Oh, I see you in a car there." I was like, "Well, yeah, but you didn't see me mark my spot." Like, at first it was like the first beginning states is like, I'm going to walk everywhere. I was missing out on so much opportunity, so many cool friends. So I was like, listen, as long as I mark my spot, we're good. So picks me up, drive like 20 minutes into the middle of nowhere in Texas. And this part of Texas is beautiful. It's a lot of hilly pine trees, rivers, creek, beautiful. I met the hippies. It was a rainbow gathering. And for 3 days, I tripped on acid for 3 freaking days.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I should mention that.
Hey, you had it happen.
Yeah,
You did it.
I did it. And fire dancers. I met this one kid. He's a dirty kid. Hippies, dirty kids, you know. I was hungry. And what a rainbow gathering is like how much food you got, how much food they got, they all put it in a pile. And then here comes the chef, this heavyset kid right by the fire. I forgot his name. I forget everybody's name, but he starts cooking like graham crackers with chocolate. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? This is not going to taste good. I swear to God, man, he made me like some kind of cannoli that tasted so like gourmet.
Was it a s'more?
It was like had like bread, it had bread in it and chocolate, and it was just so good. It was like a French toast, like cannoli thing. This guy could work at any freaking restaurant. With the things he had, what he made, delicious. One guy named Kai, he was a fire dancer. He had like the staff and everything. He's actually doing really well for himself. Last I see him on Facebook, like I think he's like a roadie for the Foo Fighters or something. Really? Very talented with the guitars. And that's the thing, you can't play radios at Rainbow Gathering. You either make your own music or you don't.
Interesting.
Yeah. His fire dancing was pretty freaking wild. And then you had like hippie girls with their fire dancing rings and all that. I'm like, and that's how they like get by. They do shows and they make some money, and then they're off to the next town, the next gathering. So I spent some time in Texas there, 3 days, and then I was heading up. Next story, Chip and Joanne Silos. I saw Chip and Joanne Silos. They have like a show on TLC or something. So I met this one lady in Waco, very nice lady. Got to stay in her yard, but I saw inside her house. And the thing is about a journey like this, you see the greatness in mankind, and you also see like the most fucked up shit.
Yeah, okay.
She was awesome. Cool. I see inside her house fucking trashed.
Hoarder?
But when I got back home, I'm watching Chip and Joanne. They're redoing the house I stayed. They're
Is that right?
fucking doing. I'm like, I slept in that front yard, Mom. My mom's like, no, you did. I was like, Mom, that's Waco. I slept there. Then it was like the desolate parts of Texas, like the Great Plains. And that's when loneliness could hit you. Like there were times I was on the road and I broke down, like underneath a bridge. I need to just let it out because even though I was talking to people every day, like I haven't seen family, I haven't seen
Yeah.
in a long time.
And now you're far removed from
Far removed.
civilization at that
Yeah.
point.
And like that would be another thing. Like I'd be walking down the road and constantly being looked at by cars. You're just like, I just got be by myself. So you go hide off on the side of the road just for a little bit and then you continue on. But the Great Plains, that's when it started getting real. Like I'd slept in this one house. It looked like the house from Courage the Cowardly Dog with the windmill. Slept in an abandoned house and birds flying all over the place. What was pretty cool about Texas, about the Great Plains, is that the storms, you like look to your left, big major like thunderstorm happening miles away. You look to the right.
Oh, because it's so
Clear,
flat.
yeah, clear day. Beautiful sun coming in. It was just amazing. And like some points, like in Texas, like the storm avoided me. It was raining miles all around me, but not on me. And it was wild.
Maybe that's a sign.
Yeah. I slept under a lot of bridges on the side of the road. I actually got rained out right before Meridian, Texas. I remember walking, it's raining, and I always sleep like in the gullies, like under like bridges, but they were culverts. And people tell me you shouldn't sleep in those. Those things get flooded. I was like, yeah. There was a 3-foot ditch on one side. There was a 3-foot ditch on the other side. I'm like, there's no way it's gonna rain 3 feet. I'm gonna be good. I'm sitting there, and I'm just listening to the thunder in the distance, and making like pita bread with chili with my little stove kit I had. I go to bed, and all of a sudden I just hear water rushing, and just boom, hitting me, man. I panicked. I was in my boxers, got out my sleeping bag and put my pants on. I ripped my pants.
Oh,
my
man.
foot ripped like a hole in my pants. Come out, and I'm soaking wet. My Goal Zero solar panel kit, which I kept my electronics alive, was like damaged. Fuck, man. Like I was drenched. I was miserable. So I got a hotel and I had to dry it out. I just put my inverter box, the solar panel thing, right on the air, and it dried it out.
So it did save it. So it was able to be saved.
Yeah, Goal Zero, man. Really good stuff.
But all your stuff was soaked now, right?
Yeah, had to do laundry at a hotel. Went to the gas station. They gave me all their food at night because they're going to throw it away. So I was like rocking like 12 burritos and quesadillas and all that. The food in Texas was delicious. So I got to Lubbock right before Amarillo. Met this guy, Brian. He passed away. God rest your soul, Brian. Shout out to you. He tells me, I go camp at his house. And I'm like, listen, I want to go experience Lubbock. It's a college town. What's the greatest bar? Chimneys, they call it. I go there. I'm having a good time. Kind of like a celebrity. People were like, I recognized you. And like, I'm like, cool, you know. I got on the news like 2 days before that, like short little interview.
Uh-huh.
And I met
You were approached to be on the news?
Yeah.
And they, okay.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to you, Carson, for calling the news for that. That got me a little recognition. So then I started heading to Amarillo, which was good. You know, stayed a couple nights. I got like a cheap motel for like 2 days for like $60. I met this pretty cool chick that worked there. She was a receptionist. It was her last day working there, so we actually went to the Big Texan.
Is that a restaurant?
Yeah. So it's the one restaurant where you got to eat that steak and everything's for free.
Oh, like the 50-ounce steak
great.
or whatever it is?
Yeah, something crazy like that. I didn't attempt it, but I had a nice burger, had a couple drinks. She dropped me off New Mexico.
Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Break after Texas. All right. Now you're in New Mexico. You've exited Texas, the longest state, 2 months there,
Yeah.
into New Mexico. Tell me about
A
it.
lot more stories of Texas, but you got to look it up while Weebok was here. So pretty much I got to New Mexico, and out of every state, I would say New Mexico is kind of like the loneliest state. Like not a lot of like crazy things, just a lot of walking and being to myself. But what was pretty cool is that I started going on like Route 66, but we're still in New Mexico. So it was like lonely, a lot of truck stops, sleeping on the side of the road. beautiful sunsets. That's when the sunsets got gorgeous, very gorgeous. One of my followers I met in like North Carolina, his cousin was driving through. It was right before Albuquerque. I was in the Tangier Mountains, beautiful mountain range. And the way the road went down is like you're going down to this valley. Shout out to Dylan. He passed away. Very kind, got me my own hotel room. And we saw places from Breaking Bad. Like everywhere
Nice.
you go to in Albuquerque, you see where like they filmed. I saw Jesse Pinkman's house. I saw Walter White's house. That lady is not nice at all.
You know how many people probably go to see that house?
Oh, millions, millions.
Were there anybody else there looking at the house when you were
Oh
there?
yeah, yeah. She's got it all gated off now. She got like cameras everywhere. Because what was happening, what I was told, what happened is that there's a scene in Breaking Bad where Walter throws a pizza on the roof.
Yes.
Yep. And then people just kept doing that to her and trying to break into her house. I don't blame her. Like, but I mean, come on, you live in one of the most iconic houses ever, man. Like
In all of television.
in all television. Breaking Bad to me is like the #1 show I've ever. I love
It's up there.
Yeah, love Game of Thrones, but I'm sorry with that ending, Breaking Bad becomes #1.
Couldn't get into Game of Thrones. So Breaking Bad definitely is higher on the list for me.
Oh, love it, love it. My longest day was 37 miles in 24 hours, right before Santa Rosa, New Mexico.
Okay.
I felt good. I didn't have a lot of weight, and the road was pretty straight. Cool day. I just kept feeling good. I remember the music I was listening to, and I remember seeing this Love's gas station. You know, the big red heart Love's gas station?
I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
Well, they have like their logo's like a big red heart. And I remember it's like pitch black on the road, and cars are passing by, and I just see a little red dot. I'm like, that's not that far away. It wound up being like 10 miles. And I'm already like, okay, I could end this. I got to Santa Rosa. I was chilled there for 2 days. Got to see the blue hole. It's amazing. It's like this blue hole of water that you could go swimming in, but it goes like 300 feet down or 100 feet. Like it's deep. It's pretty wild to see like blue water like that in the middle of like a desert. And people swimming in it. Like
People were swimming in it when you got there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably a nice sight to come upon.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't swim because I didn't want to get soaking wet, but I hung out there. The wildlife out in New Mexico is a lot of rattlesnakes. I started seeing rattlesnakes. The baby rattlesnakes are actually a lot more dangerous than the adults, because when a baby rattlesnake bites you, it sends all of its venom in. It doesn't know when to stop pushing venom, and it'll probably like kill itself while doing it. And then you got more venom than a adult rattlesnake. Yeah. I saw a lot of snakes. Saw like a 6-foot snake once on the side of the road. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Rattlesnake?
No, it wasn't, but it was like, I think like a milk snake.
So that must make it a little different when you're thinking about sleeping outside.
Yeah,
Just
scorpions too, man.
Feel a little less comfortable just laying on the ground anywhere, right?
Yeah. So Arizona is a beautiful state, in my opinion. It's same old, sleeping under the bridges and stuff before Flagstaff. I got to Flagstaff, and I was hearing how much, my third hostel, Canyon Hostel, Flagstaff, I was hearing how much the desert was heating up because it was becoming summertime. So I got myself a 5-gallon igloo cooler, a hand truck, like a dolly, an umbrella, a little backpack, still carried my backpack, and I started pushing that on 66 and 40. Now that's when the game gets interesting, because I had to carry my water. So I couldn't just like go off onto the side of the road. And if I did, it was rugging it. Like there were times like I had to, like, especially with the barbed wire fences, take apart the whole thing, put it back together, and then push it through dirt. Because one point I got to, it was like this, like they were doing construction, and there was like no shoulder, and traffic was like coming towards me, cars buzzing by. I made it about like 50 feet, and I was like, this is a bad idea. Like I'm gonna get killed. So I went back down a gully ravine, took it apart, and I remember going like 3 miles pushing this hand truck through like dirt and like up hills and shit. Had a red light on. I didn't want to be seen. And I'm pushing the hand truck and all that. And I remember I was in Kingman, Arizona. And I went to this bar, signed a $1 bill. Weebok was here. I actually went to have a soup pie last year, and Kingman is right by it, an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
My dollar bill's still hanging up there. And
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. You left your mark there.
Yeah, I left my mark. I was going through Route 66. So next thing I know, went to Bullhead City. And then Bullhead City, I got to Needles, California, and on the 4th of July.
Entering California
On the 4th of July.
4th of July.
Yeah, I remember.
How did you feel?
Oh my God, I cried. I have tears of joy. I was so happy. And the day before, I called the campground that was right on the Colorado River, and I was like, "Listen, I'm walking across country. Oh my God, honey, you can stay as long as you want."
That's awesome.
So I had this whole deck to me. Like I had a campground, but there was no shade.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this whole deck with the Colorado River right there, and I was acclimating my body for a couple days because it got really fucking hot.
I believe it.
They're like hot.
You're right at that time of the year.
Oh.
Right in the right place for it.
So I'd be just like resting. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night on this deck, and I would just be fully clothed and just jump in the Colorado River and come right out. 10 minutes, I'm dry as a bone. I
Uh-huh.
was doing that. I wasn't really swimming because I had to acclimate my body.
Where was this in California?
Needles,
Needles, California.
Yeah.
So when you get to California, what's your goal? Where do you want to finish?
Huntington Beach,
How far away is that? give or
100,
take?
100 something miles.
Okay, so really
Yeah.
it's like the home stretch.
But it's like the final level of a video game because I'm going to cross the Mojave Desert in July.
Okay, so
Yeah.
after Needles, California, where do you-
Barren wasteland. So I was walking on Route 40, and all of a sudden a cop stops me. You can't be walking here. You can't walk 40. You're going to have to go another 20 miles, 10 miles to Goff's Road just to link onto Route 66 in the middle of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Dude, tough. Like hot, like middle of nowhere. 3 gas stations. There were only 3 gas stations. Fenner, Amboy, and Ludlow in that desert.
Uh-huh.
Fenner, the first gas station, pretty cool. I got there. I walked in and I was like all sweating. The people were like looking at me like, are you okay? I'm like walking across America in this fucking heat. I was like, yeah, I'm almost done. You know,
I'm almost done.
Yeah.
Like, that changes anything.
everything was overpriced because this gas station's in the middle of nowhere. Like
course.
a small can of Red Bull was like $7.
I believe it.
They hooked it up though. They gave me water for the road, and they were going through a drought too. These people were awesome that worked there. So, couple days going through that, right before I reached Amboy, Roy's Cafe.
That's the second gas station?
Yeah, second gas station. It was like 2 days later, and I was just cranking with my hand truck through this heat. You know, my electronics were overheating so much
Mm-hmm.
that I had to take my hat off, go into my cooler, drench my hat, and cover my phone with my electronics to cool it down because I had it right here. Everything's overheating. Like, though I made some bad mistakes. Like, I had so much water on me. I had like some water in my side pouch.
Yeah.
When I take a sip, burnt.
I believe
Burned
that.
my
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
It's like hot water.
Hot
Yeah.
tea.
Yeah. So so right before I got to Ludlow, Amboy, Roy's Cafe, I get those ones mixed up. I actually got to jump in a water truck. There was a road crew working. And I remember coming up and it's early in the morning and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? What are you doing? You're
Yeah.
in like this hostile environment. I'm like walking across the country. The guy's like, do you want to jump in the water truck? Now, mind you, that was like one of like my one dream. I always wanted to jump in a water truck. You always see a water truck. I want to jump in it. I want to swim in a water truck.
Like basically like a floating pool.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Got to jump in it. Road crew gave me like a lot of like some like snacks. They gave me their lunch and like I felt so grateful. Shout out to them. I got to Ludlow and Roy's Cafe. It's like this cafe in the middle of nowhere. It's just like a gas station.
Yeah.
Like they have the old cafe like as like a museum there. But I got to hang out there. He has his bungalows. Got to stay night in a bungalow and the wind was just right. It was coming right through the window. There was nothing but a mattress like in this
I'm
bungalow.
sure compared to
Yeah,
what
it
you
was
could
great.
be doing.
Sleeping, woke up, and then I made it to Ludlow,
The final gas
the
station.
final
in
gas station,
Desert.
Mojave Desert, going on Route 66, and I met this beautiful girl, Dana. I remember the sun was setting, and she was smoking a cigarette, and I'm just hanging out, waiting. I was sleeping there for like another night, and I was like, something told me, go talk to her, go ask for a lighter for your cigarette. Start talking to her, and She's like, where are you ending? I'm like, Huntington Beach. She's like, that's in my backyard. Hit me up when you get there. So I got through the hardest part of the desert. I went through the Cajon Pass, San Bernardino. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I'm only a couple days off and I'm done. Like I walked across the country.
Yeah, man.
Finally got to Huntington Beach and I met Dana. She was my film girl. She filmed me all going into the water and everything. She took me in for a couple days. But just in a blink of an eye, man, it was over.
So those last few days after getting through that final hump of the Mojave Desert,
Yeah.
then you had at least something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Somebody meeting you and Huntington
yeah.
Beach, which is nice. All right, so you get there. That's been how many months?
11 months in one day
11 months and 1 day.
on the road. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. It was me. I was there and those 3 strangers. No family. No, none.
What was your first feeling? I guess, now that you've brought up this girl, Dana, when you finally met up with her, I guess I would be like, that would be the end of the trip.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you finally saw her and knew you were done?
It was bittersweet. It was sweet. I made my goal.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. A guy walked across the country, but it was bitter because the adventure was over. And I was like, what do I do now?
Well, that begs the question, right? When you wanted to go, you felt like you needed to go.
Yeah.
So what did you take away from the whole trip? Do you feel like it honored your original reason for going out there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I made such a big deal about it at work, telling people that I couldn't fail because I would not live it down for the rest of my life working in my trade.
Yeah.
So I proved them all wrong. I proved a lot of people wrong and they got angry about it. They don't like me anymore.
Did you feel like you had to prove it to yourself the most
yeah.
that you could do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So walking 4,000 something miles. What are your takeaways from that walk? How did you feel differently after you finished?
I felt like I could hike any mountain. And I did. My cousin took me in Sequoia. She was a ranger there. Shout out to you, Christine. She's a Sequoia. Got to camp there for 3 days, and that's when I got into hiking.
Right at the end of that
Yeah.
trip, basically.
Because I just was active. I loved walking. I just loved the nature and its beauty.
And you weren't really aware of hiking before you did
No,
this walk?
not really. No. No,
You didn't really know about like trails and
No.
any of that.
no, not until I got home.
See, that's pretty amazing that you had to fill this void once the trip was over of walking across the country with hiking.
Hiking anywhere I can, tallest peaks. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense now why I see you hiking all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get home?
So I stayed at Dana's house for 3 days. They took care of me, pizza, all that. I got to get some rest. Then my cousin picked me up. She's a ranger at Sequoia National Park. Got to camp there. Then I went on a trip with Jeff Zouch to hike Mount Bora for the solar eclipse in 2017.
Uh-huh.
I took a bus ride up there, met Jeff. And through Jeff, I met Mel. So perfect circle,
There you go. And that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met, man.
What are your future goals?
I'm just going to say this. I'm reaching out to anybody or anybody. I want to do another walk across America, but now starting to see people starting to do it. Now I got to raise the bar.
You got to raise the bar. You've already done it once.
I will do it on stilts if I could get a small camera crew together and we can make a really good documentary. So if you're watching this and you got like a year and a half to take off to go after a filming dream, hit me up, hit Joe up.
This would be a world record, right?
Be breaking a world record.
Breaking a world record.
Be from Ney Bay, Washington to the Florida Keys. And it'll be called Game of Stilts.
You want to do it on 3.5 foot stilts?
3.5 foot stilts.
That's amazing.
Possibly 4 feet.
Maybe 4 feet. Depends on the support you get from this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
3.5, 4 feet.
Game on. Let's do it.
I'd love to see you do it, man.
Dude, I would love to do it.
I think the only reason that you have that goal, this is really cool. The only reason that you think that's even feasible is because you've done something so extraordinary before to lead you into this.
Yeah.
Anybody that has to up the level from walking across the country by doing it on stilts, that's an amazing thing.
Game on. Let's do it.
Well, man, thanks for being here. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Like Weebok was here on Facebook. Everyday Snapchat videos to upload to Facebook. There's a lot more stories, a lot that happened that I could fit in an hour. So check it out. God bless everyone. And yeah, let's do it.
There's so much more I'm sure we could have gotten into there, but you're right. They can look into Weebok was here.
Weebok was here
and
on
see
Facebook.
the rest of the story. It's awesome. Well, you can find us at Proactive AHW on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, X. I'm Joe. That's Jarod. And that's it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for being on here.
Dude. And I remember I took my hand truck down a ravine, no lights, nothing, and I see on Route 66 2 truckloads of kids with with lights looking for me. Did not sleep a wink that night.